everyone, and welcome to another session of the Women in Publishing Summit. I'm Alexa Bigworth, your host, and I'm really pleased to bring you Kathy Meis, the CEO of Bublish, which is our gold sponsor this year. We are really excited to have them on board, and Kathy has been a tremendous mentor to me, but her company is really a great spot for you if you are self-publishing, indie publishing, and don't want to figure out all the things. They offer a wide spectrum and suite of services from editorial design, publishing, marketing services. They also offer distribution, which is a really nice feature for those of you who don't want to handle where to put your book, how to put your book, and all of those things. Their marketing tool, primarily known as the Book Bubble, is one of the coolest things I have ever seen out there, and I enjoy using it as a publisher and an author. And this tool allows you to share snippets of your book with an audience of over 800,000 people. So that's a really fun tool to use. Kathy, thank you for being here and for being such a phenomenal friend, mentor, sponsor, all of those things.
Thanks. It's great to be here. And we are very honored to be a gold sponsor of this conference. It's a very special conference.
Well, let me
Well,
tell you just, it is a very special conference. I would definitely agree. We're going to be talking about success, really, your success as an author, and how the things you need to do to get there all the way along in the process, and positioning, which is something I don't hear a lot of indie authors talking about. And let me tell you just a little bit about Kathy so you understand her background. Kathy Meis is the founder and CEO of Bublish, the world's first complete publishing platform with built-in marketing. She's an entrepreneur, a writer, and an editor with more than 30 years of experience in media and publishing. She has worked with such iconic editorial brands as CBS, Forbes, is it Copley or Copley News?
Copley News. Copley.
Copley
Yeah.
News Service. The
Stating me as well.
I know. when we're reading the bio and we're like, never heard of that place. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing.
I know. The dodos of places.
The
Uh,
Independent Women's Forum, NPR's Parents Journal, Financial World, and Worldview magazine. And because of all of that experience, she is definitely a sought after expert on independent publishing, book marketing, and author branding, and has spoken in all the major conferences, all the major publishing things, and just a wealth of knowledge right here with us today, ladies and gentlemen. So we're about to have some great information told to us. So Kathy, first, let's start with this idea of what it truly takes to be a successful author. You work with so many different kinds of authors. What sets your best authors apart?
Positioning. So, which starts in the manuscript. And I think, when we started with the marketing technology, and like you said, I've been an editor for many years. And what we realized is that for independent authors, the big kind of mistake, they don't even know they're making it, is that they really don't know that much about their audience a lot of times while they're writing their manuscript. And so the concept of positioning your manuscript is starting to think about your audience while you're writing your book and learning about that marketplace that you're going to be writing for, right? So what are those titles that are comparable to yours that your audience might already be reading? Study how they look, how they feel, study how they open, study the audience, what they say. There's just a host of information and value if you read the reviews
Mhm.
of the comparable titles. Like, did you see a pattern in something that was missing? Even in a top-selling book, um, you'll be fascinated if you spend some time doing that. You can learn so much about the editorial mindset of your readers and like the reading experience that they're looking for. And then, you want to write from your heart, and it should be driven by story. But if you do want to publish and sell that book, you do need to understand your audience. And I think, we talk a lot about author branding. What is that? It's like this vague concept. Well, the one thing to remember is you cannot build an author brand. The word brand, by definition, has to be built for an audience. So you can't, without understanding your audience, you really don't have the foundation to build an author brand. And that brand is the promise that you make to your reader. So if you're giving a gift to a reader, what do you know about that person? You want to give them a gift that delights them. And so if you haven't really thought about the receiver of all of this work that you're doing, it's not only could be a disconnect, but the whole process of being a writer can be very unfulfilling because you never have that connection. When you get it right, it's the world of difference. You get the reviews, you get great reviews, you get feedback, people contact you, and you start to build, the foundations of a connection with an audience, and that's how brands are built. And it does start in the manuscript. So I think that's what we really learned, moving from just a heavy emphasis on marketing and then growing into a company that really did do everything a publisher did, and bringing my editorial background. I was like, this is the big missing piece for the indies, because if you're with a house, you get that guidance.
Mhm.
That's what publishers do. That's why they say, hey, that's a great story, we just don't know that audience, we don't know where this fits, and it's rejected. It doesn't mean it's not a great story, but it does mean they can't figure out the positioning. So it's a very important business decision to position your book, but it's also a very important foundation for your brand and for having a positive experience as an indie author.
Well, we have a lot of first-time authors, new authors, or people who have maybe written one or two books and are starting to realize now that they maybe don't have they need to be doing something different. So when you talk about starting with that positioning in the manuscript, what does that mean exactly? How do they figure out how to do that?
Well, I think part of it is, really reading in your genre. And then, the authors that you love, kind of thinking about what is it that you love about this reading experience. Is it driven by great characters, or is there setting descriptive? Is it sentence structure? I mean, every author has their hallmark strengths that attract you to them. And kind of learning that, and just studying the great writers in the genre that you write in. And I personally have heard many authors, what would be your comp titles, you ask that question, and they don't know that
Mm.
because they're not well read in the genre. And so they kind of mosh things together that don't necessarily gel. And that's fine. Like, a great artist can break all the rules, but if you're starting out, you got to learn the rules before you start to break them. And I think
Mm,
um
that's a good point.
and some people are resistant to that, and that is fine. I'm not saying crush your dreams or go into some formula, nothing like that. But the idea, and it really does just flip everything with the marketing, that you are actually creating something, a gift for someone, and that you hope to delight that person. Well, you have to know something about that person. So it's not some cynical journey I'm talking about. It is an earnest journey of authentically understanding, who you're trying to delight and what they're looking for. And I'll tell you, we have had those authors come to us, and we get to start with them from the very beginning, do the co-writing with them or the developmental editing. And it's a grueling process sometimes, and there's a lot of friction sometimes, but that friction is really where the energy comes from. And then in the end, when they see the difference, I mean, when the reviews just keep coming and people are talking about the book and sharing the book, I mean, it's a very fulfilling experience when you get that positioning right. So important.
So you had mentioned to me offline in one of our conversations that you've been really focusing on this with your authors
Yeah.
that are coming through. So can you talk to us about like how you work with the authors to make sure that this process is happening, especially with the newer author, first time author, or anyone who maybe doesn't know anything about comp titles or the genre rules or expectations?
Yeah, I mean, we actually have a positioning study that we do, and it can be kind of customized, but it is around this concept of, what are your goals? That's what we always start with. Like, what do you hope to achieve by writing this book? And at different phases in your publishing journey, you may have different things you want to accomplish. And nonfiction authors often have different goals than fiction authors. But once we understand that, then we can talk about the genre and the audience that you need to reach in order to achieve those goals. And then we start to learn about that audience, and we look at what they're reading. We look at the comparable titles. We talk about the categories. We look at the synopses. Like, you have like 7 seconds on a product page on a place like Amazon to get, and I think by today they even say that might be cut in half because
Mhm.
there's just so much. So just think of that nanosecond that you have to get someone inside your look inside feature, to actually give your writing a chance. They don't recognize your name. Hopefully you have a very professional cover and a really clear title. Again, a title that speaks to that genre. We see mismatches on those things all the
Mhm.
time when the content inside is amazing, but
Mhm.
nobody gets into it. And so, we'll repackage a book, and the synopsis changes, the cover changes, can't change the title, but you might change a subtitle, indicate it's a part of a series, which is a mistake a lot of authors make. And suddenly people are going inside the book and the book gets traction. But we love to help authors do it the first time. And that starts with, developmental editors, if it's not a positioning study, developmental editors that work in the genre. So they're not going to just say, I don't understand this. They're going to say, like, in this particular genre, you're writing in third person, and first person is really more popular. Have you ever considered? Or, your plot needs to come out of the gate really fast because in this genre that's really important, or you need more character development, things like that, but that they really understand the genre. And that, I think, is important, especially at the developmental level, that the editors really understand the genre that they're editing in.
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about positioning and marketing and comp titles and author brand and all those things. It's I think so many people wait until they've already written, they've already figured, they've already got their cover, they're already ready to go out the door before they even start thinking about those things, which from what you just said is a big mistake.
Probably
What
the biggest, yeah.
Yeah, the biggest. So if you have somebody who comes to you and they're already at the stage where their book is done and they have come to you for either marketing or distribution support, is there an opportunity to work with you all to go back and maybe catch up on some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a read through service exactly for that reason, because, I think the hard thing about independent publishing is you have to make the biggest decisions when you have the least information. So
Mhm.
conferences like this are designed to give you more information so you don't make mistakes, because that's, a waste of your time and your money and just your energy. So we anytime really, if an author is willing to, before launch, you can, stop. Beta readers are a great way to do that if you're not working with a company. Like, one of the other things that happens a lot is this kind of rush to publish, and that is
Mhm.
one of the amazing things about self-publishing, is you do control your timeline. But a lot of independent authors just, let's get it out there, and they don't do the foundational work. And some of that is, in the last conversation that we had, it was about building community while you write. Well, you can actually learn from your audience and from beta readers, and they become fans of the book because you bring them in during the editorial phase and you get feedback and you learn so much from that. I mean, we are working, just went into copy edit in our co-writing program, where you work with an author coach and developmental editor, and the author writes the book, but they kind of learn as they go.
Mhm.
And it's a very interesting one to position. It's a corporate novel, so this author actually is in human resources, and she didn't want to write a boring business book about certain things that she wanted to convey to people in HR and to executives who are dealing with a team where HR is maybe needing to step into a more modern way of doing things. And so she wrote this really great novel where there's a lead character that is in HR and struggling through kind of redefining her role on an executive team in a company that's really stressed. So, very relevant to what's going on in the world today with a lot of companies stressed because of what happened to the economy. So, how do you position a book like that? From the get-go, during the writing process, when we got into like half the book, she sent it out, do we have the rhythm right? Is this interesting? Da, da, da. Got feedback from a closer audience, but not only people who were reading for the fiction aspects, but for her goals of making sure these lessons were coming through without being boring or overbearing. Reshaped the book already, and then did it again towards the end. And, we were putting those brush strokes in, and it's a really great read. And so then, we're studying, what are the comp titles? There are like corporate fables. Do people search for corporate fiction? No, they don't. There is actually some searching for corporate novels. It's kind of this tiny little segment. And then we decided, because her goals are tied to the business concepts around it for her consulting, that we would probably place this work of fiction in all nonfiction categories.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's where her audience is.
Mm-hmm.
But it really influenced the way that the cover was drawn,
Right.
the subtitle, the title, the series title, because it will be part of a series. And, it was tied again to those goals and that audience she needed to reach. And then building a brand to delight that audience, which will mostly be, executive women. So it is, every book's different,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a roadmap that you can create for every book. And the earlier you do that in the process, the more likely you are to have that magic fit that helps you achieve your goals, which may be just getting the name out because you're going to write a lot of books, or it may be making money from the one book, or building a business around a book, or just learning how the whole thing works, coming out with great craft and learning about publishing because you hope to do more. There's a lot of different goals that authors have. And if you plan to really publish and become your own publisher, you really do need to think about that positioning, because you are going in, it's a commercial endeavor, right? So you could print a bunch of books and give them to your friends, and that's not a commercial endeavor, and that's absolutely fine. But if you want to play in a universe that has 70,000 plus new books published every month, you have to really know who you're talking to. Narrow is better.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's fascinating discussion because we see a lot of indie authors either trying to do their own covers, or finding a somebody on one of the budget sites and getting a cover that might look okay, but to your point of, is it going to fit the audience that it's meant to fit? Did that person, I know that was my experience with my first book, was that I hired somebody who was quote unquote a cover designer to do our Sunshine After the Storm for us. And turns out like they knew how to take a picture and put some words on it and format it mostly properly, but there was no support or guidance from that person on to what, how to do all those things that you just said. Was it appealing to the audience? What did it look like? And I know Brooke Warner, but I remember the first time she saw my cover, she was like, I don't get this cover at all. We have that kind of relationship, but and
Yeah.
she was providing me feedback, and I was like, oh, and I was shocked because I thought, the image to me made sense. But yeah, so that then I wound up having to go back and have everything redone by somebody who did understand those things. That's
Yeah.
painful.
It is painful. And so a lot of times authors think about their cover just aesthetically. It's really pretty. I like it,
Hmm.
which is lovely. But the key of the book cover, when you have someone's attention for a few seconds, that that imagery has to convey some kind of emotion or
Right.
information very quickly, and a lot of it, because our brains do process information from imagery much faster than we do even from words. And then you have to remember you're mostly selling online in a thumbnail environment, so titles are getting a little shorter, subtitles are getting a little longer, and you have this layer of what's called metadata. So your title, your subtitle, your series title. Sometimes there's like if you're a New York Times bestseller or an award winner, that's on the cover. And those pieces of metadata, again, another layer that someone who's not in the industry wouldn't think about, have to be on the cover in order to go into your metadata. Case in point, the words "a novel" are a very popular subtitle, because if
Hmm.
you have a vague title to indicate a novel in a nanosecond tells a person, okay, it's a novel, like, because there could be confusion.
Right.
And so, Grace's Journey, is that a memoir? Is that a, nonfiction? Who knows? So a novel. And those things are really important, like the fact that people don't add a series title. And, in some, if you write a fantasy or a thriller and you don't indicate your series title in book one, you're going to lose a lot of readers because they like to read deep. So that little mistake by not including it on the cover, even though you can't see it, it gets to go in the metadata. And that's part of the terms of service of almost all of the major online retailers. Another thing is that, how you craft the title, and how you might craft a subtitle or a series title, and the ability to convey key information quickly, um, to the author, to the reader, about, what the book is about. And that, the eye goes to the cover, and then it goes to the top of the product page. And if you're lucky, it goes to the synopsis and the look inside feature. So it's a lot of important business decisions. And third, your cover files have to execute well in a print environment or a digital environment. They have to, there's decisions on color, that, how wide is the spine, does the artwork go across the spine and cover up your text, is the book even long enough to put text on the spine? There's a lot of other things we see, just little mistakes that kind of have big implications as a book goes into the marketplace, that if you start early and you inform yourself, or you work with a partner who's doing this all the time, those mistakes can be prevented.
And it really does make such a big difference. I mean, I know in our circles of indie authors, I often hear people saying that they don't want to pay to anybody to help them get their book done. They don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. But the reality is, if you don't know these things, and it takes a long time to know these things well. I mean, I'm 8 years in and I am still learning every single day, largely from mistakes. No, that's how we learn the best, right? But no, I mean, it's a constant like studying of the industry, of all of these things put together. So for me, the question I throw back is, would you rather do it wrong and not sell any books, or would you rather make an investment in your business, because now you're an author, to make running an author business, to make sure that this is done well? But I wanted to ask then, for that purposes, do you offer the opportunity for people to come in and get just pieces of this if they don't want to do the whole puzzle, or are your packages all inclusive?
We have both. So
Okay.
we've always had both. I mean, some authors just want a complete solution and
Mhm.
they want the discount that comes with the package. And then other authors just, they've already started, and they've done certain things fine, so they just need some help in certain areas. And our favorite thing is to work with an author from beginning to end, not going to lie,
Yeah.
because you know, I think the self-publishing model has always been, sadly, um, we'll just take millions of books and upload them into distribution. And if everybody sells one copy, that's fine. But our emphasis has always been to act more like a publishing partner and help people build their brands over time. And we have a lot of great case studies around that. And the earlier we work with someone, the more we can help them get the foundation right to grow and and not make the mistakes the first time out.
Absolutely. Well, you said the magic word distribution, and I know this is something that a lot of people do not fully understand. So will you explain what distribution is and then what Bublish does as a distributor, as opposed to distribution through Amazon or those, other sites?
Yeah, and so there's, traditional distribution where you have a salesperson who goes out and sells to bookstores. But in the new world of self-publishing, where you have a lot of sales online, and we do have a lot of sales in bookstores as well. I'll go into that a little bit. But there's not only just getting your book into all of these systems. There's getting your book into those systems with optimal metadata, everything from the cover to reviews, editorial reviews. There are also reader reviews, a very rich and well done synopsis. Then there's the file compliance, making sure that the files that are uploaded in any format, and we distribute in all three formats, print, we do paperback, hardcover, ebook, and audiobook distribution, that they are going to create a wonderful experience for the reader, right? So, an ebook can go really wrong if it's not well produced, especially if it has a lot of elements. They can break, they're kind of like websites. Print books can also have, crazy things happen to them if they're not, the margins aren't right, the gutter hasn't been calculated correctly, the spine is off, all of that. And so, there's a lot of things just to get the books into these systems and to get them in there optimally so that you have a professional book. So when the reader receives it in whatever format, it's just great. And they're not gonna leave a bad review just because you had some kind of structural issue with your files, right? Let's get them into the story. The all of the files should just enhance that reading experience. They should never deter from it. So there's that phase. Then there's also just the process of optimizing distribution with things like pre-order campaigns. So we're big believers in pre-order campaigns. We often start review campaigns, at places like NetGalley. We have an ARC service, which is sending out advanced reader copies that may be to key influencers or key places that review books, or perhaps individuals, in your industry or in your genre. And all of that starts well in advance
Mhm.
of an actual
Mhm.
launch date and lays the foundation for a very strong launch because, you've created buzz. And if you're published by New York, those lead times are way in advance of most
Yeah.
indies. And especially with that first book, to be able to really let the world know it's coming, have an advanced reader copy that's available, to all kinds of reviewers, 3 to 6 months in advance. Some places will never review a book after it's published. Some places will need to look at an advanced reader copy that is actually, um, physical. So really it's extremely important to plan, your launch, and distribution can become part of that launch strategy by planning for a pre-order campaign, planning for review campaigns that coordinate with that. And I think that's the key for us. It's not just distribution um, on its own in its own channel. It's distribution that is coordinated with
Mhm.
the marketing efforts and understanding best practices to put you in a position
Right.
to really do well. So I think that the big thing is, so much of this begins before even launch day. And then it is, coordinating launch day with marketing and advertising. Um, we even have, we do work with some great publicity partners, but it's very expensive. So we have a few services that are more affordable that we, make available to authors around their launch. We have Facebook advertising, Amazon advertising, and we have even opened our own store called Bublish Books, which is a direct
Awesome.
consumer built on the Shopify platform, which is really teaching us a ton about um, the consumer buying habits. And it is a completely indie bookstore. So there's nothing on there. It's just to make the indies shine. I mean, we're so excited about it. It's still in beta as we talk, so it's early days, but the first signs have been kind of extraordinary.
That's
We're
really exciting. And is it open to only published distributed authors, or how does someone get in your bookstore?
No, but it is select. So
Okay.
even those who we distribute and those who might come to us to be part of it, it's all indie. And it is selected by the things that we know, because it is a cooperative advertising model. So in that particular channel, we take a slightly higher cut than we do for a regular distribution, but we handle all the advertising
Oh,
and all the
wow.
targeting, right?
Wow.
Yes, so we
That's
are,
huge.
it is huge and it's been fascinating, but unlike a place where we distribute, say, in an Amazon environment, we actually get the names of the people who purchase from the bookstore, and we can start to build a relationship around them and show them that high quality indie books are fantastic and they can leave reviews, and there's just a lot more control over the reader experience and a lot um, there's just no noise. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
high quality
Yeah.
independent authors, like, give it a try. And once you try it, you may never go back.
So how does someone apply to be part of that?
Yeah, so we do have a place on the website to just submit, and you can submit and talk to us, and the acquisitions editor will get in touch with you. And it's just a simple process. But we are actively looking in certain categories to build them deeper. When we came out of the gate, we had a very strong reaction to a lot of women's fiction,
Mhm.
historical fiction. So we're building out different verticals there.
I
So
love it. And I love that it's competitive so that it's the cream of the crop, and that when people are going and getting books from there, they know that they're going to have books that went through that entire process that you just described. So the lesson to be learned here, ladies, and the few gentlemen that may be joining us, is that you really need to do the work and do your book right if you want it to be in the premier places where it's going to sell more and make your money back and then some. Well, as I mentioned to everyone, Bublish is the gold sponsor of this, and I wanted Kathy to let us know about what you're offering our audience. Do you want to do that, or do you want me to read the description?
yeah, you might have to read the description. I know that I helped put that up there, but I don't quite
Okay,
remember.
I will make sure that we get it out. This will be on the website and in the notes too, just in case we mess anything up here. But as we just explained to you, there's the full spectrum of editorial design, publishing, marketing services. And you offer a free 20-minute consult. So if you're just interested in the marketing aspect, we'll talk about that really quickly, because I love the bubbles. I really do love the bubbles. They're fun and simple to use, and the dashboard shows you how many clicks they get, and not only just clicks on the bubbles, but clicks to retailers, which is really cool if you're trying to see, how many people are looking at your book in different places and hopefully converting to sales. So Publish is offering a 40% discount on the book bubble technology. which again, building that massive platform. So when those tweets and social media pieces go out, it's 800,000 readers weekly. So the coupon code for that is WIP 2021, and that will give you a year or the first year at a $20 discount. It's only $79. That's a phenomenal investment, marketing investment for 800,000 readers each week if you're doing the bubbles and participating. I can't think of a better return on investment, actually. But then the other offer is for a 15% discount off of your first author services order. So I assume that can be full packages or a la carte.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. There's
that's
already a
amazing.
discount on the packages, so it's really a higher value with the packages. But yes, anything. Yep.
That's wonderful. So we have a special link here that will be in everything, but just in case you're listening to this, it's publish.com/, this is pretty easy to remember, women-in-publishing-summit. All you have, Women in Publishing Summit, just remember to put the dashes in between. And the first 10 people who sign up for that proposal will receive a 1-hour bonus consultation with Madam Kathy herself. Maybe I should refrain from calling you Madam Kathy. That may have different connotations in Charleston than it does in other places.
Miss, please, just call me Miss. Yeah, yeah, and I'm excited to do that. So, whatever anyone wants to, we have all kinds of 1-hour consultations. But if someone is interested in the positioning, that's a great way to get a taste of what that looks like and really dive in. And the 1-hour positioning consults are pretty robust as well.
Well, and I just want to, as a publisher, put in for like how hard, I mean, you made it, you talk so gently and nicely about it. It's hard work. It is really hard work to do that and to understand it and to know that. So that's in itself, I mean, the thousands of dollars of time and energy spent, I think, trying to learn all those pieces of that puzzle.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, I think that's where we really found our place in the market, was that authors just have to learn, they have to learn craft, and then they have to learn all about putting a book
yes,
together
yes.
and design and, interiors and ebooks and audiobooks, and then they have to learn about distribution. And when we, kind of ended up just literally helping authors and growing with them, and we got to this complete solution with the marketing, people are like, yes, I'm so happy I don't have to go this all alone.
Yes. And well, let me just tell you from some of the interviews that we've done with other really successful authors in this conference, the ones who have done it on their own have been able to, if they've done the work and really put in the time and energy, they've figured it out. But the most of them are saying it's 6 to 10 years before they figured it all out. Do you really want to wait 6 to 10 years to start seeing return on your book sales? I don't. I don't, I mean, it's a
I know.
long time of a lot of hard work and effort. So
Yeah. It
I'm a
is a
big fan.
strategy. It is, and it is a strategy. And a lot of people, you do have to set expectations. No brand is built over time.
No.
Micro brands even do take years, but if you do get the positioning, again,
Yeah.
like, it's the people who get it wrong, they have to go back,
Yeah.
they get a little traction, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, like.
Right.
But I mean, we do have a lot of case studies of, people have written on their own, and then they've come to us, gone through the process at the editorial level and thinking about the audience, and, and it does make all the difference. And
Yeah.
so they're like, oh my gosh, I am a good writer. Yeah, you are a good writer. You're just learning to be a publisher, and a publisher it's an act of commerce and brand building for an audience. And there's a lot of pieces, tiny little pieces, that have to come together to kind of lay a strong foundation and build on that success.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think we're going to set up our womeninpublishingsummit.com/Bublish link to direct to that. That's a little bit easier for people to understand. And then to remember just off the top of your head. And if you're already on our website, if you just click on the sponsors and click on Bublish, it will take you directly to their offer page with the discount already
Yeah,
set
we
up
set
for you.
something up. Yeah, we set
Wonderful.
something up for you. And
Okay.
however you end up contacting us, if you, just mention women in publishing, we'll definitely honor that if you've been part of this great conference, which I really look forward to every year. And I'm so happy you're virtual. You didn't have to like change your whole model for COVID. You just got to keep building this
I t-
wonderful thing.
It's funny. I'm usually a day late and a dollar short, but on this particular thing, I was far ahead of the power curve. So I am grateful for that. I am so, speaking of gratitude, so grateful to you, Kathy. Again, like I said at the beginning, you've been such a great mentor, such a great friend. She only lives a couple hours from me, so sometimes we actually, well,
We
one
used
day we
to.
will get
We
together again and chit
Yes.
chat and do all the fun things that we used to do. But your support of this event and your support of me have just been so appreciated over the past, gosh, almost 5 years now. Would you
Yeah.
believe way back in the day, I actually did some services for Bublish as I was first getting started. You remember that?
Yes,
When
I
I
do. I do. I remember that. Yeah, it's great. And just to watch you evolve, it's been so amazing, you know? So it's
it's fun.
great. And yeah, we just love being part of this conference because yeah, it's wonderful to also to have a focus on women because there's so
Yes,
many smart women in this industry and just seeing
100%
them
agree.
all kind of gathered here is wonderful.
100% agree. If you are watching this free on the website the week of the event and you have not purchased your ticket to the conference, please do so that you can join us in the group for all of the cool behind the scenes things that we're doing. We've got writing sprints. We have more in-depth Q&As with our speakers and sponsors. We'll have a time when you can come in and ask Kathy questions about Bublish. We will have all of these things happening, only available to our conference ticket holders. So make sure you grab that. And we hope to see you in the community. Thanks again, Kathy, so much.
Thank you for having me.